Well, what do you know? It's the weekend once again. And when the weekend comes, so do the movies. And when the movies come, Michael Snyder comes. No, wait a minute. I don't think I meant to put it that way, but, you know.
Nice.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm really relaxed and exhausted. No, I'm fine. It's another weekend, and we're in the heart of December, and the craziness continues here in Los Angeles. And we did a little catch up, and I caught something that opened this past weekend, and we want to get to it because it's good, and that's about it. How about yourself? What's up?
No, nothing. So let's get to Michael Snyder's Culture Blast.
Okay, let me ignite. Creed is a return to the Rocky franchise for Sylvester Stallone, although he neither wrote nor directed. And it actually changes the focus from the big Italian-American lunk in Philly to the son of Apollo Creed, one of his most notable and mythic opponents back in the day. Stallone is back as the iconic Rocky, only now he's training the son of his old rival, Apollo Creed. And we have the talented Michael B. Jordan playing the younger Creed. A boxing contender on the rise, but one who started out as a disavowed orphan, essentially. He was a child out of wedlock that the wealthy and successful Creed had, and Creed dies before the kid, who happens to be named, by the way, this is sort of nice, Adonis Creed, before the kid has a chance to meet him, but the kid connects with Apollo's wife, who takes him in as a stepmother. So there you go. He's back on track. And this is a surprisingly enjoyable update of the franchise with a first-rate cast, really smart writing and direction from Ryan Coogler, who's the guy behind Fruitvale Station, which was a wonderful film based on a real and sad incident that happened in Oakland, California. And that movie also gave Michael B. Jordan his breakout role. This movie's about living in the shadow of someone great and not even having the chance to benefit from a personal relationship with that guy, and then trying to basically follow in that guy's footsteps. Rocky actually becomes this kid's surrogate father when he leaves Los Angeles and the lap of luxury and a good job to pursue his dream of being a boxing champ. Goes to Philly. They go to all the same old places that Rocky hung out. As it happens, Rocky's wife, Adrian, is dead and gone, and so is his longtime buddy, and so is his trainer, and he has his own restaurant called Adrian's, but he's pulled back into training and all the exciting circumstances around that. Felicia Rashad plays the stepmom, and I do want to point out just a pretty smart, sensible, exciting cast. Everything about it worked for me. I was surprised. And there is a love interest, a young musician, a woman in Philly who has hearing loss. So there's a parallel to Adrian. Her name is, the actress is Tessa Thompson, and I was impressed. Believe it or not. Okay, single word titles. Let's move on to a very famous one, Macbeth. And this is a new interpretation of Shakespeare's timeless tale of a fearless Scottish general back in the day whose wife urges him to use whatever he has to use to gain the power of the throne. And boy, is this helped by an atmospheric setting, by strong direction, and a fantastic cast, largely British or from the UK. Michael Fassbender, in fact, plays Macbeth himself, and as his wife, the French actress, a wonderful performer, an Oscar winner, as a matter of fact, for her performance as Edith Piaf. Marianne Cotillard plays Lady Macbeth. And you get support from Patty Considine, David Thewlis, and Sean Harris. They weren't messing around. This is very well done, considering how familiar the material can be. And the somewhat realistic approach paid dividends for me. You got this, like I said, a dark windswept setting that befits the subject, a very economical edit of the source material so it doesn't go too long, a crew of world-class actors. And so the latest Shakespeare film adaptation is pretty damned effective. And as tragedies go, this one's a real corker. And I want to especially mention Cotillard as one of the most effective, multi-dimensional, and conflicted Lady Macbeths I've ever seen. The director is Justin Kurzel. Good stuff. And David Thewlis is King Duncan. You can't beat that. And having the option of Sean Harris, who usually plays like kind of a villainous guy. He's been so good. He was the assassin in the Borgias, for instance. He's Macduff, a guy who gets screwed in the middle of all this. Anyway, yes to Macbeth. Another single name title, Krampus, which is a darkly comic Christmas horror film, believe it or not, about the legendary demon of Alpine folklore, who's kind of the evil flip side of St. Nicholas. And he comes to basically steal away and torment the children who've been bad in the prior year, as opposed to St. Nick, who's bringing them presents and stuff. So for some reason, maybe it's because grandma is from Bavaria or wherever, Austria. This guy, Krampus, terrorizes an American family, and the cast is very cool. The mom and the dad, who seem like okay folks, played by Toni Collette and Adam Scott. The idiot uncle and his trailer park wife are played by David Koechner and Allison Tolman, and the kids are all very, very good. And I thought this was creepy fun, and believe it or not, far more heartwarming to me than the usual Christmas treacle or slapstick. Compared to Love the Coopers, this thing is, this is award-winning material. Maybe not. And basically, it's sort of a throwaway. But if you're going to waste a little time watching a movie with the Christmas theme this season, and it isn't Holiday Inn, my favorite, Krampus, not bad. Krampus, they don't even know us. Anyway, The Lady in the Van is a pretty wonderful drama. Really impressive, really engaging, funny, dark, sad, witty, sharp. Maggie Smith and Alex Jennings, who's an actor I don't know all that well, star in this drama, which is inspired by a true story about the real life playwright, award-winning playwright and orator, whose name is Alan Bennett, no relation, I assume, who lets a transient woman in her van park in his driveway for almost a year, well, for years and years and years. And that old bird, Maggie Smith, has more tricks up her sleeve than you'd suspect after all these years of watching her. And it's a bit of a memoir, like I said. And the playwright, Alan Bennett, in the early 70s, was living in the bohemian London enclave of Camden Town with other artsy types, upscale, well-to-do artsy types, well, comparatively speaking. And he lives by himself. He's a kind of a closeted gay man, but everybody knows what his predilections are. And he basically is isolated as he's writing and dealing with his occasional young pickups, and he lets this woman pull her van into his driveway. She's been like kind of a local eccentric, and he becomes bonded to her, and she is a handful. I mean, you really can't imagine dealing with her ever. And she's infuriating, kind of psychologically damaged, and she lives in a van that she turned into her own little hutch. And it's sort of a pile of filth. Dame Maggie Smith, I mean, kudos to her. She just really, gives her all here. And there's strong support from a terrific. Dominic Cooper plays kind of a rent boy. Jim Broadbent plays a policeman who maybe is on the tail of this woman. James Corden of The Late Late Show and other things, and great fame in the UK, has a very tiny cameo. And they're all great. I really thought The Lady in the Van was sort of moving and funny, and what more do you want? The director was Nicholas Heinter, who did the History Boys, Heinter, and it's written by Bennett himself, not you, Alan Bennett. Youth. Wow. Paolo Sorrentino, who wrote and directed The Great Beauty, which is actually one of my top 10 films on any given day, explores the bond between a couple of friends, a musician and a screenwriter. The musician is also a renowned conductor. The screenwriter is still cranking the stuff out, but they're both taking a vacation in the Swiss Alps at a spa as they think about their retirement and deal with their work and whether they want to continue working. And boy, oh boy, you can't go wrong with Michael Caine as the conductor and Harvey Keitel as the screenwriter. This is one of my favorite directors, getting to work with some of my favorite actors in an exquisite setting to address issues of career, family, romance, and the challenges that vital creative people can face when age starts getting in the way. Rachel Weisz plays the Caine character's daughter. Paul Dano is a young actor who's trying to get into a character, so he escapes to this spa, and he tries working on the character. And Jane Fonda has a small role here as a grande dame, diva-type Hollywood actress who shows up late in the film. It's not as good as The Great Beauty. It isn't quite so memorable, but it's so rich and so beautifully executed. And I highly recommend it. It's almost 2 hours, and there are some passages that are just kind of graceful and stately. But man, this guy knocks me out, and whoever his cinematographer is, woohoo! Let's wrap it up with A Royal Night Out, which is charming to the max. It's a fantasia or extrapolation or rumination about what might have happened to the Windsor sisters, Elizabeth and Margaret, when the princesses were given permission by their father, the king, and the queen mother to go dancing at the Ritz on VE Day in 1945. This is something that really happened to the future Queen of England and her sister, albeit with military escorts acting as bodyguards. And man, this will not work unless the girls are properly cast, and you kind of get attached to them. So Sarah Gadon as young Princess Elizabeth, and Belle Powley, who I think was nominated, who actually won the Gotham Award for her performance in Diary of a Teenage Girl within the past week. She plays Margaret. Rupert Everett and Emily Watson are the king and the queen mother, and it's charming. Absolutely charming. It's sort of a trifle in a way, but the historical aspects of it are kind of entertaining, and everybody is so exuberant, and the setting is so exciting, and it's lovely to see, the end of any war, and so having it be that day, Victory in Europe Day, pretty wonderful. The director is Julian Gerald. I don't know. The writer is Trevor De Silva and Kevin Hood. This is not a work of genius, but charm plenty. By the way, if you're a fan of the British TV show MI5 or Spooks, there's a movie continuation that's now in theaters that I haven't caught up to as yet. I guess if you like the show, you'll probably like the movie. Maybe I'll get to it at some point. And I do want to mention in passing a fantastic documentary called Hitchcock Truffaut, which is about Truffaut and Hitchcock getting together in Hollywood for a long talk back in 1962. And a book came out of it, and someone has made a movie basically about their interaction, with interviews including stuff with Scorsese, David Fincher, Richard Linklater, and Oliver Assayas, and a lot of interesting clips. And it's a tutorial.
You do know that interview with Truffaut has long lived in legend, that Hitchcock did not like Truffaut and kept lying to him in the interview.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's another aspect of this thing. But I got to say, this movie is almost a must-see for any cinephile. Mm-hmm. Did not get a chance to see Chirac, which is the latest from Spike Lee, co-written by Spike Lee, which is a modern-day update of the ancient Greek play Lysistrata, about the women going on sex strike to stop war back in the day. And I guess this is all about violence in Chicago's South Side, and a woman named Lysistrata, or Lysistrata, depending upon what part of Greece you're from, I guess, who decides to do something about it. I would like to catch up to it, much like I missed Creed last week. I will get to Chirac. What are you watching on TV, buddy?
Well, I'll tell you, but my wife just got through binge watching, which I had seen about 4 episodes of, and she absolutely loved, and that is Real Rob, which is on Netflix.
Wow, you liked it?
Oh, she loved it. She thought it was and I got to tell you, I went back, watched it with her again, and I think it's the best thing Rob's ever done. I mean, it is surprisingly funny, surprisingly well done, and basically, it's a home production because he bought and paid for the whole damn thing. And his wife is in it, and his kid is in it, his 1-year-old kid is in it. But it's funny. It is very, very funny. And I was amazed when I saw it. When I finally told Rob, I said, usually I hate to watch things friends of mine do, because if it's bad, I have to come out with some kind of approbation like, oh, very well done, Rob, that kind of thing.
Or how nice you got it financed.
Yeah, right. This happens to be very funny. And what they also put up on Netflix, and I don't know why, was Rob's TV series from a couple of years ago on CBS. And when you compare the two, I mean, the thing on CBS was a disaster, but he didn't have control over it. This thing had complete control over, and it's light, it's fun, it's it's good, decent comedy.
Well, the thing at CBS was a multicam in front of a live studio audience, a totally different approach to what he's doing with his own thing. It's funny, you're sailing against the wind because every review I've read has been scathing. But I'll give it a shot.
I'll tell you why. Because the critics have always been anti-Rob. He can't do anything without them saying something nasty about it. It's the end thing. But if you look at this thing, I mean, there were genuine laughs in here. Funny stuff.
Well, I will do my best to catch up to it. I mean, I have a few other things on my plate, but I do want to point out that a show is coming up that is rather raw but incredibly engaging as a mystery. It's called London Spy. It's another UK production, but it's on its way over here at some point, I hope, and I think it's fantastic, and it's got some completely and utterly adult content, but Ben Whishaw and, again, the previously mentioned Jim Broadbent, Charlotte Rampling, great talented people are involved in it, and it is a great mystery. I think it's
we probably should mention this sort of thing when people can see it here in the United States.
I'm just so wrapped up in it, but yeah, you're absolutely right. We will touch back on it again. That's about it, except the usual.
Yeah. Okay, well, that gives us a good heads up on just about everything. Thank you very much, Michael. Tell them where they can find you.
I'm on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, where you can hear our segments and read articles and stuff. And at Twitter, I am at Culture Blaster.
Okay, and of course, right here on GABNet and on Roku. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Michael.
All right.
And there's more GABNet to follow.